queens and cryptids, and welcome to Queer and Loathing, the only podcast that honestly has no fucking clue why the caged bird sings. I'm your host, Brett Bodie, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts.
I'm Mel.
I'm Samantha.
And today we've got a bit of a special little treat for you guys.
Or not, depending on your taste.
Yeah, or the worst thing you've ever stopped listening to after 5 minutes. I think we're calling this Contrarian Corner.
It's official. You've said it out loud.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
So yeah, the idea for this episode was we wanted to kind of talk more broadly about movies. And we decided to do our Contrarian Corner TM that is essentially, we didn't tell each other what we were going to prepare ahead of time, so this might be a shit show. But we were each tasked with bringing forward 3 movies that we like, but we think other people don't like, and 3 movies we don't like that we think other people do like.
And then I also think all of us, like, in addition to the very varying quantity, we have all interpreted that prompt slightly differently.
Yes, like go check out our Horror for Kids episode where we all kind of interpreted that differently. We didn't really parse out what we meant when we said Contrarian Corner. So, Brett, what did you interpret this as, and what was your methodology for selecting films?
Yeah, so first let me just say this was a tough one for me, which is weird because there are so many things that I hate, but I am also so much more likely to like enjoy and defend a bad movie than like hate a movie that's widely liked, because like I probably like it too, or at least like don't hate it. And then I was trying not to get too deep in the weeds of movies that nobody will have heard of.
You do be watching some pretty obscure shit,
I
Brett.
sure do, and like tons of it.
Did we even say that they had to be horror? I just sort of assumed that they did need to be, but...
Yeah, I kind of figured we'd want at least mostly horror, but it's good probably if they're not all. Because I would also like to say the worst movie I've ever seen, I feel, was The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which I always talk about because I saw it in theaters. And Jamie Foxx's character is holding an electrical wire and falls into a vat of electric eels, which gives him electric powers and closes the gap between his front teeth.
And it puts a little like battery on the side of his head that we can see how charged up he was. I also saw that in theaters and also consider that one of the worst movies I've ever seen in theaters.
But that's something people would agree with.
But it's also
exactly.
not really a horror movie. And you're right.
Also,
there's
not
no
a horror
one,
movie.
No one is really trying to defend
Exactly.
Amazing
so
Spider-Man
I really
2.
tried to keep it, within a certain range of recognizable and where my opinion either differs from what I feel the mainstream opinion is, or at least I can justify it enough.
Whew.
Yeah, Sam, what was your clinical methodology?
How I went at this was I did what did I love that I don't admit to people?
Ooh.
And what do I hate that I do not admit to people?
Oh, I'm excited for this.
And that's why I keep telling you I'm so nervous, because these are things my husband knows. He helped me with the hate list because he was like, yeah, you hate that one. I was like, you're right, I do hate that one.
Oh, your husband knows.
How's
the divorce coming?
Oh, man. Luckily, I think he's not going to be as reactionary as like maybe certain people in this room.
Why are you looking at me? I mean, I'm just
Am
imagining.
I looking at you, or am I avoiding someone else?
Oh, you're right. I am the more reasonable one out of Brett and I. I'm so glad you brought this to the attention of the podcast. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine.
I'll let the audience decide that one.
But I'm just trying to imagine, like, what would be, like, spicy to hate if you're like, yeah, I didn't like Schindler's List because the ending was a bummer. I wish they all died.
Oh, no.
So a little less
spicy.
A little less spicy than that?
Yeah.
I think
Thank you for putting it in perspective for me.
I have a
appreciate
feeling
it.
that your opinions are going to be hot takes, but not as hot as you expect.
Well, none of mine is horror, so that's a little hint.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine.
Great.
But
I'm
they might
interested.
be horrible.
Boo. Boo.
Okay, my turn?
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I went where I always go, which is I went to Letterboxd, and I was trying, so I first kind of, like you, Sam, I thought about movies that like I tend to disagree with people on and get riled up about, and movies that the way I thought of it was that I want to like because everyone else likes them, and I just didn't.
I totally get that.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, and so I have those two. And then what I did is I listed them all out, and then I went to Letterboxd. And I have rated every movie that, at least that I try, that since I've had Letterboxd, I try to remember. So I like have my rating, and then I used the largest delta between the average ratings of what people had versus mine. So I had some movies on my list that I was like, oh yeah, like people hate that. And then I looked and the delta wasn't as bad as I expected. So I got rid of those. I tend to think with Letterboxd, if it has a 3, it's out of 5. So if it has a 3 or above, I looked at you, Sam, because I know you have a Letterboxd but don't use it. So,
Yes.
Oh,
You're about to defend
Well,
yourself.
no. I wasn't going to defend myself. I was going to say I love how you did this because it's how I wished I could have done this.
But you don't have a running
if
list.
I was using Letterboxd, and so this is like, but also
It's a wake-up call.
Yeah, it is a wake-up call. I need to use it, but also my hate list are ones I may not rate and share with people. Like
you're gonna be like the famous people on Letterboxd who don't want to give any ratings because it's bad PR for them.
Yes.
You're a coward. No.
Yes, I am. That's the whole point.
You are a coward. You have a coward's heart.
I'm self-aware. Okay, back to you, Mel.
Well, that's what I did. So I tried to find my biggest deltas on either side. So the ones where I tended to rate quite high, yet they tended to have lower ratings, and then the ones where I rated them quite low, but other people. And I follow a lot of people on Letterboxd, so it's cool because I can see like what my friends think and like what general people think. So I tried to be a bit more methodical. Like Brett, I found myself realizing there were like genres or like subgenres that I tend to gravitate away from. But then I also had these issues because there's movies that I literally like turn off, not because they're bad movies, but because they make me feel like I have a tummy ache or they're too gross for me. And it's not like I think it's a bad movie, but they're just like so a bad fit for me as a viewer. So I started off in a very clinical place, and then it just started blooming out, especially for my hate list. I think like you, Brett, there are a lot more movies I can think of that I love and people hate, and I can defend it. Most of the movies I really dislike are not widely beloved. So, and I ended up rewatching a movie that I had seen once, and I thought maybe I was too kind to it, so I rewatched that one. And then there was a movie that I tried to find a movie that I thought everyone else liked that I thought I would hate. And I found it. Here's how I propose we do this. We'll do clockwise, which is so helpful for you people at home who can't see this. But we're going to do like Brett will say one he likes, Sam will say one she likes, I'll say one I like. We'll discuss all those as they come up, and then we'll do our dislikes, and we'll just do that until we run out of steam and it's over.
Until it's just Mel's list.
So let's start with Brett. Tell us one that you think, define it, your contrarian take on it, and then tell us what it is.
Okay. So I think my first like that I will say, that I think I like much more than the average, at least horror fan, even though this is not like a widely seen movie probably, but it is the original Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Really?
With the Santa Claus killer. I actually really like it. And I like
it
part two for different
literally
reasons.
almost made my list of ones I don't like.
I know you really don't like that one.
I like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2.
Yeah, which I also like. I just find the central performance of Billy, this kid who's like, his parents were killed by a murderous Santa Claus. He witnessed it. He and his little brother then sent to an orphanage where they're just like horribly abused by the most awful Mother Superior, and has a bad time, goes to work in a department store, and their regular Santa quits, so he has to be the Santa.
And he goes crazy.
And that breaks his brain to like, I hate Santa, but I am become Santa, destroyer of Linnea Quigley. Because he famously impales her on some like deer antlers.
It is a very cool scene.
I'm just very touched by like his performance and that concept. But everyone is like, oh, you can skip the first one and just watch the second. But I'm like, I like the first one. I think it's like sweet, and I like the Christmas vibe, and I like the department store.
I think it's sweet. That's anyone who's seen that, it's Brett.
I'm the person who walked out of Longlegs with like a big grin on my face. I'm a true sicko.
I guess so.
Because I'm one of those people who says you can skip not only Silent Night, Deadly Night, you could skip the first entire 3/4 of Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2 and just watch the end.
You can't miss in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, you can't miss the umbrella kill.
Well, you have to do that. It's
Yeah, that's
basically
so
once
good.
he's out.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Or anything that's new footage.
Well,
That
I agree.
isn't him just talking.
Well, and that's what I do because I'll generally watch the first.
Oh, and then you don't need to rewatch
Then
it.
I don't need to rewatch any of that, so then I'll just watch the new stuff in the second.
For those who don't know, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, they really rushed it out. I think that's a good one. That's good.
And then I also really enjoy, this is not one of them, but Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 5, which is called Initiation, where this woman gets inducted into like a Lilith worshipping like rad femme cult, and there's also weird bug effects by Screamin' Mad George.
Oh, I like Screaming
And
Mad
it's
George.
really good.
My apologies. Did you say rad femme or rat femme?
Rad.
Rad. Thank you.
Rat femme is what I am on a Friday night.
I don't know, but if it's Brett, it might be rat.
It's
so.
me when I'm in touch with my feminine side.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just thinking about like trans exclusionary rat feminists.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
This is stupid. Okay, Sam, that was a good one. I think that totally nails it, especially
Thank you.
because I literally almost wrote Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1 for ones I dislike that I think others like. So it's funny that you see it because you like it more than most people, and I think I like it less than most people.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, Sam, let's hear it. I need to know.
Okay, well, it's not horror, but my stuff is kind of nostalgic based.
Oh, I think I might know
I
one.
don't
All
think
right.
you do.
Oh, all right.
It's a movie that came out in 1995. It's a movie I owned on VHS, so I watched it a lot. And it is Batman Forever.
Which one is that?
This one has Val Kilmer.
Oh yeah,
as
we just
Batman.
rewatched that and that was awesome.
Oh, okay. I've only heard people
So
shit
this
on
is the one
it.
you like or don't like.
Like.
Okay, so
I've never seen it.
It's
I watched it so much, and it brought me "Kiss from a Rose" by Seal.
Oh, I'd be bumping that song around my
I
apartment.
still listen to it
I
all
do
the
too.
time. I love that song.
the problem with the movie is it's not really a Batman movie. Like Batman doesn't act like Batman, but it's so fun
But
and it's
hello,
so insane.
You have Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent. You have Val Kilmer as Batman, whatever. You have Jim Carrey as the Riddler, being Jim Carrey. Drew Barrymore's in it as like a side chick.
She is.
Chris O'Donnell, that's fine. Nicole Kidman, gorgeous. I just remember being a little girl and like her and like she had the sheet. She was leaving the bed and she just had the sheet in front of her and I was like, there's never been a more beautiful person in this entire room.
Brett, do you
Room or world.
So I know it by reputation, and I know.
It has a bad reputation.
One anecdote that I will quickly say that I just think is funny from this movie is Tommy Lee Jones famously despised Jim Carrey during the filming and was so
I
annoyed by
bet.
him. They ran into each other at a restaurant. Either they had just wrapped or I think they were still filming. And Jim goes over and like to greet him, and they're like shaking hands, and Tommy Lee Jones like leans in and like says in his ear, he's like, "I cannot condone your buffoonery."
I get it.
And just like hated him. And I'm like, well, Tommy Lee Jones, I've seen clips of you in that movie, and I can't say you're turning in a career best performance either.
Everyone's so goofy in it. The costumes are really fun and insane. It's very cartoony. Like I think people
But it's still dark, which I loved about it. It's a dark setting.
I would say it's dark.
Mood
but
lighting.
it's very like proto Phantom of the Opera, Joel Schumacher. Like it's very theatrical in a
I
lot
loved
of ways.
Phantom of the Opera. But yeah, so that's mine. I think it's your turn.
Were
Mom.
you nervous about admitting that you like Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever?
Not as much as am worried about admitting what I hated.
Okay, I'm ready because I was.
That's
like,
what
that,
I really cared about. It's
I
not what I
been a
liked.
letdown if that was it.
No, get ready.
Okay. The first one I'm bringing up, I've brought it up before, I've defended it before, and I'll keep defending it. I like Jurassic Park 3. I'm not afraid to say it. Do I think it's as good as 1? Of course not. Do I think it's maybe the second best one? Maybe. It's either that or the most recent one. But the most recent one was just so bad that it was like fun. But Jurassic Park 3 is totally fine. Like, it has some annoying characters, but honestly, all of them do. Like, it's a new area, it's a new concept. People are kind of have the motivations that they have, and those motivations make sense. I'm I think Jurassic Park 3 gets a bad shake because a lot of people say it's the worst one, and I think that is genuinely misguided to say.
There's no way it's the worst one. I think it's at least in the top half of the series.
Yeah. I mean, I think we talked about this during our Tremors episode, but for some reason, people keep seeing these and they're huge every time, even though the quality has just been bad since the first one.
It's my fault because I've seen 3, World, Fallen Kingdom, and Dominion in theaters.
I mean, I think I've seen
Me too. Those are the only ones I've seen in theaters.
And I'd like to apologize I don't know. I just like to apologize. It's not aimed at anyone.
I apologize all the time. Yeah. It's great.
Okay, so that's good. So nothing too crazy yet.
Okay.
All right, now let's go into the haterade part of the arena. Brett, what was a movie that you think you hated more than most people?
It's Wes Craven's New Nightmare. The proto Scream. It's where it's sort of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Is it the one where the hand is haunted?
Kind of. Well, so it's basically a tulpa movie. It's set in the real world. It is about the actress Heather Langenkamp, who played the final girl in the first movie. And she gets a call from New Line Cinemas, and she has a meeting with actual Bob Shea, who was the head of New Line, that Robert Englund, who's also in it, has been having dreams about Freddy again and wants to make another movie. Editor Brett here. So Robert Englund is the actor who played Freddy Krueger. What I meant to say was Wes Craven was having dreams about Freddy Krueger because he is indeed the writer-director. My bad? And it's the combined collective consciousness of Freddy Krueger has brought this demon kind of into the real world, or maybe it's just conjured him into being. So it's not Freddy, but it's similar to Freddy. And so it's all the meta elements of it. It's fun to see all these figures as playing themselves. I love a tulpa movie. That's a concept that I just love.
We love tulpas.
But it's just got that 90s stink all over it. It's every shot is flat and framed poorly. It's just boring, and the child actor is really annoying. And he's really young, so I'm not blaming him, but just
No, it was all his fault.
You know what? Let me revise my opinion. It was that kid's fault.
Can I tell you something about it? It was my first Nightmare on Elm Street movie I saw.
Oh.
So I saw it in high school, and it was on late night TV. And I watched it and I was like, man, that sucks. And then I didn't watch any Nightmare on Elm Street movies until I was an adult.
Okay.
Because I just thought they were all going to be that bad.
Yeah.
And then I saw the first one and was like, oh, that was pretty fun. I actually really enjoyed that.
It's not a very spicy take, but it's one that on paper I should love, and I just can't stand it.
But I like that definition.
Okay. Do we want to rip the Band-Aid off or build up to mine?
Just rip the Band-Aid off, because
Okay.
it's going to be so disappointing if it's not that bad.
That's true.
Okay. Let me say when it came out. It came out in
I like a guessing game.
1987. It is much beloved. A lot of the people in my life love it, have talked about it.
Is this The Princess Bride?
Yeah. When did you guess that?
Because you've told me you didn't really like it.
I mean, I like it fine, but I never really felt the way about it that a lot of people did. We had to watch it a lot. I feel like it was at least once a year at my school, someone would roll it out and to keep the kids entertained, VHS day. And I was always fine with it, but I'm not about to get mad.
Well, when I was in middle school, all my friends loved it. They talked about it all the time. I get to high school and it felt like all my friends loved it and everyone talked about it. You quoted it today in this room. People quote it all the time.
What'd you say?
That I fell victim to one of the classic blunders, and I'm not talking about getting into a land war in Asia.
Oh, yeah.
But I was talking about starting to take a shit
Without
before you
toilet
assess
paper.
the toilet paper situation. So just know I've overcome a lot of adversity to be here today recording this episode.
Yeah, I mean...
So I didn't see it till I was 17. So I was like, well, I don't get it. Everyone overhyped it for me. I thought it was boring. I don't know. It just has never... I'll watch it again when Redacted's old enough to watch it, and I'll be like, maybe it'll spark something. Maybe they'll love it. Like, we'll see.
I literally hated the movie Renfield. I hated it. It made me literally angry.
Okay.
I thought it was aggressively unfunny. And because it has Nicolas Cage in it, and because it's like a horror movie, it got so not only over advertised to me in general from just social media thinking I needed to see it, but then people in my life started sending me like the trailer and promotional stills being like, you like Nicolas Cage, so this is so for you. I can't wait to hear your opinion on it. And like I tried to like it. I just thought it was really bad. Now I guess we're back into like territory.
Okay. This one might be a bit spicy, but this is my subgenre that I like.
Oh God, it's gonna be disgusting.
Well, yeah, but not obscure. The much maligned run of like 2000s era horror remakes.
How did I know you were gonna say this?
I like a lot of them. Some of them are god awful. So let me just say, it's not like this is universal.
But you're talking like Sorority Row and Texas Chainsaw kind of.
These are on there.
Okay.
Piranha 3D.
Okay.
Which, if anyone hasn't seen that, that's maybe the best one because it's so silly. The Hills Have Eyes. I think that's a good remake. But again, I think some of it's nostalgia. That was kind of how I discovered horror, because it'd be like, I'd see a trailer for it. I'm not allowed to watch it, so I gotta LimeWire it and watch it in secret on the family computer with the monitor turned.
I'm just imagining like it's like midnight and you're just like hiding behind the family computer and you're like looking out and you have like another tab ready to pull up and you're watching the Paris Hilton House of Wax.
What you're picturing is basically what it was. That was my life. Because I was so curious, because I was just like, I was such a scaredy cat as a kid. And this was me like, I don't know, it feels weird, but I'm kind of curious. So like, I want to see.
Instead of porn, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Sam, okay. Your next one that you like that you think other people are unfairly maligning.
Batman and Robin, another one that was VHS in my home and I watched a trillion times and I love.
That one I do think is bad.
It was an Arnold Schwarzenegger household. So I
but he was in 700 other movies you could have watched.
And we probably watched all of them. My mom owned many Arnold Schwarzenegger VHS tapes. So
that might be my most quoted Arnold movie.
Oh, all those ice puns?
Yeah.
Cool it.
Yeah.
Chill out.
I love it. I love Poison Ivy, and Alicia Silverstone is there. Oh, and also George Clooney and his nipples. So,
he does.
You know.
I don't know why that's a positive for you, but.
I don't know. I just remember it.
Okay, rewatch it and then report back. Because that's one where I don't know. Because, like, I thought I was going to hate the first Joel Schumacher. God, what a name. Joel Schumacher. Nope. I thought I was going to hate Batman Forever.
Mm-hmm.
But then when we rewatched it, I was like, oh, no, this is, like, actually really fun.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't say that I like it more than probably the two Burton ones.
Okay, I was bored by the first Batman, and then I have not seen Batman Returns, but that one seems like the one I would like.
Well, Batman Returns is like Batman Forever, only in the sense that it's like Batman doesn't act like Batman. It's not really about Batman.
Oh, that's fine.
And so
I don't care about Batman.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like I think you'll like it.
Okay.
Because it's only like the people who were like, Batman wouldn't just like strap dynamite to someone and throw them into a hole. And I'm like, Batman's made up. So I watched earlier this year a big movie that I thought could, called Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom. I love this movie so much, but I thought, maybe I had been drinking too much when I first watched it. And when I watch like a big dumb action movie with my husband, we both like get excited with each other. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch it not on the big screen with my husband while slightly drunk. I'm going to watch it stone cold sober.
Schulber.
Which is Stone Cold Schumacher on my computer screen, as Martin Scorsese would have wanted, and rewatch it. And I loved it a second time. And I just love this movie. I think it's bad on purpose. I recommend it. But try when you watch it to think of, this is James Wan getting his last hurrah with like superhero money. Like, that's how I saw it. As he was like, I'm going to make this a Star Wars prequel. Like, there's a Boss Nass character in it. There's like pod racing in it. They go to like Skull Island. There's like Lord of the Rings moments.
You are trying to get me to rewatch this, and it's not going to work.
Jason Momoa gets piss in his mouth 3 times
Oh.
in this movie.
He does.
It is, maybe it was made specifically for
And
me.
Patrick Wilson eats a cockroach sandwich,
Twice.
I think, yeah.
Again, this is where I think it's a joke. So at one point, Aquaman, Jason Momoa, tricks Scream Queen Patrick Wilson into eating a cockroach, saying it's like a delicacy up on the dry land world, right? Because Patrick Wilson only lives underwater. And so he tricks me into cockroach, and he's like, yeah, they're the shrimp of the land. And he likes it. And then at the end, the Marvel movies-esque mid-credit scene is him eating a greasy hamburger, and then a cockroach goes on the table, and he just sticks it in his burger and eats it, smiling. Okay, ad break?
Yeah.
It's brought to you by Aquaman 2.
It might as well be. I was going to say, this episode is brought to you by being entirely unprepared.
Okay.
Have you ever just not thought at all about what you were supposed to do and present?
No.
Maybe in a classroom setting, maybe at the office. Well, if you have, then you've already experienced today's product being entirely unprepared.
You're talking to 2 incredibly anxious, powered people.
Is
So
it because I was convinced it was my turn this week and it turns out it wasn't?
That would require that I'd given it any thought, which again, let me stress, Mel said at the beginning of the session, like, that I was going to do one of the ad reads. And I thought, yep, and I'll think of something. And here we are.
Here we are.
is there an offer code?
Yes. Use offer code making shit up for 20% off of being embarrassed on a podcast.
Well, I cannot personally say I've ever felt embarrassed in my life. So I'll just have to take your word on it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Just respect my truth.
Okay.
That's all I need.
I hear you, and I see you.
Thank you. And our listeners can hear me, but they can't see me.
Not yet.
Presumably. All right, well, with that, I'll continue to wow you with my preparation after the break. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you spent your break thinking about anything except the things that you should be thinking about and planning. If you're anything like me, you're going to be so avoidant and you're not going to think about it until right before, or maybe never. Maybe you don't have a thought in your beautiful little head.
So what is something, Brett? It's your turn.
Yeah.
So I think we're on things that you hate or just
Yeah.
feel like you like less than most
Right.
people.
Well, this one is one I kind of prepared for, but I think is now unnecessary after our most recent episode, Alien Romulus. Go listen to that. Because it was going to be Alien 3. Because I really hate that movie. And
I think
know
most
that,
people hate it.
But I do want to say that I know someone is in too deep. They are like too horror pilled. They're lost in the sauce when they're like, I actually think that Alien 3 is the best one.
Because it's the bleakest and most miserable.
I guess. But I will say, to target you, Mel, I also think that about people who say that they prefer The Exorcist 3 over the original Exorcist.
I do prefer The Exorcist 3.
Right, and I feel the same about
But
those people.
But I also really like The Exorcist.
Yeah,
I'm not
so
saying I don't like The Exorcist. I'm just saying The Exorcist 3 is more like my thing.
Yeah, The Exorcist 3.
But I might be too lost in the sauce. I mean,
You may be. God knows I am, just not in that particular way.
let's see. I just went to bat for Aquaman 2, which I doubt James Wan would even do.
But I guess instead, and I don't have a ton to say about this one either, so this is kind of a twofer, like, just... We also recently discussed it, I think, off air, but Hannibal, the Ridley Scott Silence of the Lambs sequel. Jodie Foster has been recast with Julianne Moore. Everyone is 10 years older. And it just doesn't work. It's like, it's trying to do some Silence of the Lambs stuff again, but the magic is long gone. Also, Silence of the Lambs is such a masterpiece, and it's such a film about something. Like, it's about the misogyny and the male gaze, and that's why all the men are looking right into the camera whenever they're talking to Clarice. So you're like in her head, basically, as these disgusting men just like talk down to her or like stare at her tits when she's trying to just like
Save it for our Silence of the Silence of the Rams episode.
I'm gonna get you checked out after this. I'm taking you to the emergency room.
I've actually never been able to talk. I don't know.
I was gonna say I've actually never been to the emergency room.
I've definitely been to the emergency room. My therapist was like, "You've been so good. You only went to the emergency room like once last month." And I was like, "No, I haven't been to the emergency room all year." Because I have contamination OCD. So but I was like, no, I'm actually way more, it's like shocking to hear my therapist thinks I'm like more mentally ill than I am.
Yeah, that's the opposite of a vote of confidence.
I was like, actually, I'm not that bad.
Okay, that's actually so funny.
No, I think that's probably like Silent Night, Deadly Night, one, but the opposite. It's one that you hate, or that you hate more than normal people, and I like more than normal people.
I agree.
But it's sort of one that's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
We're saying this to Sam, who we're both assuming has not seen Hannibal.
Nope.
If I met someone and they said Hannibal was their favorite Hannibal Lecter movie, I would truly think the person has terrible taste.
I would think they have terrible taste unless they said Silence of the Lambs, basically.
I mean, okay, Silence of the Lambs is the best, but
But favorite and best are different things.
I think there's a lot of people who would say Manhunter.
Yeah, and I would disagree.
And
I would be taking them to the ER after this episode.
Well, I will chime in to talk and just say I have seen Silence of the Lambs, and that's it. Or is it Lamb?
You don't remember all the lambs?
I don't remember all the lambs.
All right, do you have any more, Sam, spicy, horrendous takes that is going to shock us? I can't even believe what you said about The Princess Bride.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're seconds away from cancellation.
You say this, but if any of my friends actually listen, then they might be texting me.
Are we not your friends?
If any of my actual friends actually text me, you're my pod co-hosts.
Whoa, we're just co-workers?
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Everybody noted that.
Yeah. So I did actually stumble into a horror pick because I just realized it is actually horror. It's a beautiful movie. I love the score. I actually listened to the score, but I wanted to die after watching it, and so I will not be watching it ever again. And it was Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, for sure.
I can't ever do that again. I don't know why I watched it. I don't know who did it to me.
Well, okay, so I was in a psychology class, and in the class, we had to pick a movie. This was not something I think could happen today. It was pick a movie and then diagnose someone with a mental illness in the movie that not already openly being talked about. And it was a group project, and someone in my group project picked Requiem for a Dream. So I had to watch that movie like 5 times because I was like a tryhard. And then we had to give a presentation in the class. We picked the mom. And so we played the scene where she's just like, Brett, you know the scene, you're making that face. Well, she's having her little, like, fully emotional moment.
Oh, the monologue.
And I just start crying while I'm standing in front of the class of mean high school kids. And then I have to talk about it. And I was just a wreck. And I don't think I've seen it since then. But I watched it like 5 times for that class.
I feel exactly the same as you, Sam. And I guess you, Mel, but I only watched it once. And was like, what an amazingly made, soul-crushing movie that I don't think I could ever watch again. And I remember I watched it, it was like some afternoon after school. I literally like watched it on like my parents' TV because that was the one that wasn't in like the living room. And I was in a funk for 2 entire weeks after seeing it, and I just kept thinking about it. Mm-hmm. And I have rewatched the monologue, Ellen Burstyn's monologue, just because I think it does make me cry, like genuinely. Mm-hmm. But I think it's just such amazing acting and just such a beautifully sad like moment that I have re-experienced that, but I don't think I could watch the movie in full.
The funny thing about Requiem for a Dream is I do think that now people are less kind to it than they were. Because I think people thought it was really amazing, but now, like all these years later, I think people see that it's a bit reactionary.
A bit misery porn, like for...
Well, it's even just sort of like reefer madnessy. Like you're going to do heroin once and then you're doing ass to ass in front of Keith David.
Is that not what normally happens?
Allegedly.
I'm taking myself to the ER after this episode.
I'm not a huge fan of like any of his movies, but I
Me neither.
appreciate them.
Yeah. Like, you won't see me praising Mother.
I fell asleep during it.
It was fine.
You fell asleep during the nightmare that is Mother. I didn't like Mother when I was watching it, but I can appreciate it now. Having not being watching it right now. I don't enjoy watching it.
Sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, for his movies, they really do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a very good pick.
That's a good one.
I really agree.
Okay, so this is one where I set myself up to hate. So we covered a movie, and it's sort of the critical darling of the year that everybody loves, and whenever I'm on Reddit, every day someone posts on the A24 subreddit and says, so I just watched I Saw the TV Glow. And then the comment is always like, I've never felt this way in my life. This is the most amazing movie. I've never felt a movie, like I've never seen a movie that made me feel this way. Like I've never connected to a movie so much. And that's not my pick. But I thought, well, she has another movie. So I'll just watch that.
Oh, you watched We're All Going to the World's Fair?
I watched We're All Going to the World's Fair, and I didn't like it, but I guess it's cool to have a terminally online movie. I mean, I guess I could connect to having been a young girl on like AIM talking to middle-aged men who are being inappropriate.
Because that's basically what this was.
Okay.
The movie, it's like a 13-year-old-ish girl,
She
right?
seems a
She's
little
pretty
older,
young.
but I don't know how old she's supposed
Yeah,
to be.
but like talking basically to a middle-aged man.
And their like relationship is a lot of the movie. Well, it ended up being more of the movie than I expected it to be. And I was like, yep, I get it, but it's just so not my thing. And I really want to like pretentious shit and like
You do.
experimental film shit. And it just...
Yeah. But you just don't have what it takes.
And now we are back to like.
Oh, dang. Okay.
We'll see if anyone has any.
Yeah, so I do have one. I remember seeing a lot of trailers for it, and it came out, and it was like the most critically reviled horror movie like of its time. Just like everyone said it was like the worst piece of shit. And they were right, but I really like it. It's called Fear.com.
I almost guessed that. I almost thought, I was like, is he going to literally
I-
fucking say fear.com.com?
Okay, the title is Fear.com. The promotional website was Fear.com.com.
In my head, I just think of it as fear.com.com.
Then you do have a legitimate reason to think that.
The movie doesn't make sense, Brett.
Not only does the movie not make sense, not one single scene leads into the next scene. It's just things happening and you don't know why. There's a little girl who was murdered, but maybe she was a grown woman, but the woman ghost has like a vaguely Eastern European accent.
Yeah, she
but
sounds
then,
Russian.
But then they meet her mother who does not have that accent and just has an American accent. This girl had hemophilia, but was allowed to play by herself in like an abandoned mill. Tetanus City, USA.
That was just the 80s.
So I really like this movie. It's just...
I'm so disappointed in you, Brett.
It's like a 2000s era American Giallo movie. It's just like, it's nonsensical.
That's actually fair.
It's just about vibes. It's like, it doesn't make one blessed bit of sense, not only overall, but in any given moment. But it's just about the like weird vibes, and there's a ghost on the internet and he's gonna get you, or maybe it's her because she's mad that she was killed, or maybe it's both of them. Yeah, check it out. I like it.
Don't.
And look, there's a reason why it was like the most critically reviled movie. But I enjoy it.
I'm glad someone does.
It's probably just me. And that one guy on Letterboxd with very similar taste as me. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's like Tony the Terror or something.
I don't know. Send me his
Okay.
review of fear.com.com.
I think he also liked it. We have like, because he's like also like a gay man, I think slightly older than me, but just it's funny because I'm like, our tastes really align. I'm like, this guy gets it, or maybe both of us are just the most insane people on the internet.
Or maybe it's you. Hello.
Oh my god, he's your tulpa.
Okay, great, because I really like his reviews. So if they're my reviews, then that just makes me like me and my taste more.
You created a tulpa that's just a slightly older gay man who has the exact same film taste on Letterboxd. He doesn't exist outside of Letterboxd.
I'm just gonna feel more powerful as my delusion grows and grows.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for this journey, and I hope you all are too.
We'll see.
And if you're not, comment below. And if you are, subscribe. And if you're ambivalent, give us a like.
If you're enraged, mail us $100. We will take hush money.
That's the only way you can get me to shut up about fear.com.
If you don't like this podcast, you're gonna have to buy us off.
Okay, me. So I didn't have a third one that I liked and people don't like, except my husband decided to chime in with one I love. It is dear to my heart, and I guess he hates.
Okay.
So we'll say that one, and it's Hocus Pocus. I fucking love Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, I think Brett and I are both pretty ambivalent.
Yeah.
love
I'm not a
Hocus
huge
Pocus.
fan. That actually should have been on my list as one I don't like that most people like.
I guess I'll leave.
I don't feel strongly enough about it to put it on my dislike list, but it's just like I kind of nothing that movie. I'll watch it if someone else is watching it in the same room as me.
It's that time I'm about to watch it a lot.
But I may YouTube Bette Midler singing I Put a Spell on You.
Yes. I mean,
do
it
like
is
that.
the best part.
Yeah, I do like that part.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't care about Thackeray Binks, although I do
Thackeray!
remember his name for no reason.
It's a good name.
Yeah, so that's my add-in. So give Redacted credit for that one.
But you like it.
I love it.
But that's most people love it.
Oh, well, thank you.
You know what maybe it is I think it's maybe just a chick movie. And you fail as a gay by not finding like Sarah Jessica Parker super slay or whatever, serving cunt, whatever they say.
Yeah,
whatever
they do
you
say
gays
that.
say.
Me and my tulpa.
You and your tulpa Greg or whatever his name is.
Yes.
And then it's gender affirming for me because I don't really like it. And I'm not a girl, so maybe that's it.
There we go. We've potentially cracked the code.
Well, 'cause I think-
SJP isn't even the best part at all. Not nearly.
No.
But you're not a gay man.
I guess.
Because she's...
He said, I guess.
I want to defend Eight-Legged Freaks.
Okay.
Eight-Legged Freaks has a really bad score on Letterboxd. I love Eight-Legged Freaks. It's a movie that's so my subgenre. It is...
What is it? David Arquette vehicle.
And little baby Scarlett Johansson. But there's a lot of character actors in it. So if you watch it, you're going to keep saying, oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's that guy. Like,
Perhaps I'll watch it one day.
I mean, I think you wouldn't hate it. Or maybe you would. What do I know? I tell you to watch a lot
It's
of
hard
stuff.
to tell with me.
I tell you to watch a lot of stuff, but I never know if you're going to like it or not. But it's like kind of a throwback to the really old giant insect, like 50s sci-fi
Yeah, I did
B
see.
movies.
Was it one of those MST3K movies? I think the first one I saw was like Invasion of the Giant Spiders, and that was maybe my first like so bad it's good movie where I was like, I love this. Like this is so stupid and cheesy, and I'm obsessed.
And I grew up on them because my dad is a really big science fiction fan, and so we would just watch like Them, which is the one with the big
Ants, right?
yeah, and like. It was very easy and cheap to shoot just like bugs on a little paper set. But this one's CGI. The CGI makes them look like cartoons. There's sometimes cartoon sound effects. It's really just fun, mindless buffoonery. And you just get to see people running through the streets screaming while monsters chase them, which I love. So I will defend that one. I own it. It is now signed by David Arquette.
It is. We have a photo with him
Yeah.
at Texas Frightmare, Mel, you and I.
He was like, do you want me to sign it? Is the character's name from the movie? And I said, no.
I'd rather you sign it with your name.
Like, you're David Arquette. He was very sweet. But I love that movie. I think that if you're looking for a movie that's like really scary and the spiders look real, that's not the one. Like, I would not say it's the scariest spider movie. I would probably say that is Arachnophobia.
I've seen that.
All right. Well, I do have another, like, a last round of dislikes.
I have one more.
Let's
Okay.
power through.
The original Prom Night, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, arguably the movie that cemented her after Halloween as like the final girl of the 80s. And people do like this movie. And this is one that I rewatched and shouldn't have, because I ended up not hating it on a rewatch as much as I did, although I still don't like it. So it didn't fully change my opinion. I just found glimmers of things I liked. But basically, like, the tone is all wrong because it's way too sad to also be so stupid. Because the premise is there's these little kids playing a game in, like, again, like an abandoned school or like warehouse or something. Why are you there? And they're playing a game of like the killer is gonna get you. And they bully this girl and she's so scared that she jumps out of a window and dies. That is the twin sister of her brother. And then Jamie Lee Curtis is their older sister. You see the family like visiting her grave, like, 10 years later. But then also it's prom night and all the characters, like the teen characters, are so excited for prom night and it's all they talk about, all they care about. It's as if like their entire lives have led to prom in a way that is so vapid. And all of those characters are the kids who killed that girl from the beginning. So you can't even care about any of them. So when they're killed, you're like, yep, you shouldn't have done an I know what you did last summer and agreed to never confess. Because they blamed some like transient and like he's the one who went to prison. And so he has escaped, but it was actually these kids. So it's just a weird tone of like...
So he's killing them for revenge?
That's what they think. But no, there's a big like disco dance scene where it's Jamie Lee Curtis and her boyfriend. And also she's supposed to be Queen Bee. But this is like 1980 Jamie Lee Curtis. She's a good dancer. She's beautiful. But she has not grown into her bombshell, confident self. She's still more gangly Halloween, awkward teenager. But she's prom queen and like that girl and doing a disco dance. And you're like, I don't buy it for a second. This girl is not prom queen.
There's only, I think, maybe like 2 movies where she was really, at least that I saw, where she was cast as a bombshell.
They were more like 90s movies, right? What was it? Trading Places?
Trading Places and A Fish Called Wanda.
And,
True Lies, she becomes one, but it's the whole thing where they have her take off her glasses and fix her hair.
Okay.
And then they put her in, and then it's like, oh, even her husband didn't know she was like the hottest babe ever.
And at the end, like, the killer is a mass killer. He's attacking her and her boyfriend. She like whacks him in the head so hard to like defend her boyfriend. And then like he's like bleeding from the head. They make eye contact and she realizes who it is. They run outside.
It's her brother.
He gets shot by the police and it was the younger brother. And it ends with her crying over his dead body because she's lost both her siblings. So like there's some like good stuff, but like that ending is a real gut punch, like actually sad. And it is so out of place because like the rest of the movie is like so campy and bad and boring. So you know what I mean? It just like...
It's funny because there is a movie I can think of where I had a really similar feeling about it. Where it was like a fun, like 2000s remake. And it's like goofy and fun. And then the character has gone through so much and is so traumatized at the end that it's the movie I think of when I'm like, right, they survive, but like they're so traumatized. And the movie was called Prom Night.
Oh.
Because by the end of that movie,
the
Britney Snow prom night remake, where, sorry, you could take me to the hospital. But her boyfriend is killed like while they're like in bed together. He's like murdered by her like stalker. I think it's actually maybe Prom Night 2. It's just called Prom Night because it's like her teacher had stalked her, and then he goes to jail, and then he breaks out, and then he kills literally all of her friends and her boyfriend. Because he's in love with her. And I think he kills her parents. And she's just by the end, they're like, she survived. And you're like, I mean...
Like, did she? Well, she's not the same person she was before prom night, so...
That's so funny that they remade it with a different plot and it's still as I don't know if misguided is the right word.
Misjudged, I guess.
I don't know. Like, what is it trying to do?
Like, the tonal balance is so misaligned that it's
misaligned is maybe the right word. Is a misaligned movie.
Also, lots of disco songs that were famously hastily composed and performed because there were supposed to be real songs and they couldn't get the rights at the last minute, so they had to write all new generic ones.
Yikes.
that had the same tempo.
Oh, so they could all dance to it. That's funny.
And it is funny, but like the disco and the like
Yeah, just
Psycho
doesn't-
Brother, yeah, it just does not work as a movie. And so yeah, so even though I liked it, elements of it more this time, I'm just like, yeah, just misaligned.
Yeah, so my next one's definitely not horror, but it's another one that people talked up forever, and I finally watched it last year and was like, nope. And it's Mr. Holland's Opus.
Huh, I've never watched it.
I've never heard of it.
Oh,
Really?
it's basically there's this composer, he might be a jazz composer who has a family, and I think his wife gets pregnant. He's like, oh, I need to pay the rent. And so he becomes a teacher to teach music. And yeah, people love it. And I did not like it because I'm like, he's a grumpy old man who is considering teaching as a backup, which I don't want a teacher who's just teaching as a backup. I want a teacher who actually wants to teach. And there's a whole thing where a student falls in love with him and he's like weird with her too. And they're like, maybe we'll run away together. And then like at the bus, he's like, I know you love me. We can't do this. I have a wife and a kid.
Is that really what happens?
Yes.
I've always heard like this is a heartwarming tale of...
Supposedly. Oh yeah, because at the end, like all of his students, like one of them is like the governor or something, like comes back and they celebrate Mr. Holland and he does a special thing for his son who is deaf. But the whole movie, he's like being a dick to his son because he's a music teacher and his son can't hear. And instead of learning any sign language to help communicate with his son, he just like works all the time and just stays out of the house.
Huh.
And so he's just a really shitty human being who like maybe taught some people who ended up being successful.
I'm honestly shocked because I only knew this movie by reputation.
Yeah.
And I guess probably more in like the music student crowd, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We probably heard more about it.
Yeah, I'm not
But
musically gifted.
I'm really shocked, honestly.
Yep.
Just based on like what I'd heard about the movie versus what you're telling me now that it's actually about.
I'd never heard a bad thing about it. People
No.
loved it. Or maybe
Yeah.
it's like people who'd never been to like music anything and
Or
were like,
never
I
met
heard
it.
this movie is really good. You love music, Samantha.
Mm.
And then when I finally watched it, like it'd been so hyped up and I was like, it's supposed to be great. And I was like, this man is awful.
Is
Can
this
we
a
not?
new movie?
No, 1995. So yeah, Mr. Holland's Opus.
Wow.
I mean, I just kept thinking you were going to say Hall & Oates, which I love.
No,
I also love Hall & Oates.
Mr. Holland's Opus. I'm not shit talking Hall & Oates.
Mr. Hall & Oates.
Mr. Hall & Oates Opus.
Mr. Hall & Oates puss.
Ew.
I know, you could see I regretted it as I was saying it.
So I have a bunch of stuff. So I'm just going to like race through some honorable mentions to subgenres that don't work for me. I was smiling when you were talking about Prom Night because I literally wrote down Terror Train,
Oh.
which is another Jamie Lee Curtis early.
It was like that same year even
Yeah.
as Prom Night.
I just have classic slashers from the 70s and 80s. Like there are some that will pierce through for me that I really enjoy. Like I don't know if I could say I enjoy Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No.
But I think that one is probably
Maybe
like,
appreciate it.
right. Or like I really like, but again, feel bad afterward. I like Wes Craven, Last House on the Left, and the remake. But that one makes me feel sick. But just that kind of slashers don't do it for me. So that's shout out to those. I don't have beef with them, but I usually don't watch them. Then I have ones that I have a section on here that is really gross, so I turned it off, but I assume they're good movies. So on that I have Terrifier 2, which I didn't even try to watch. I got through Terrifier, which I didn't like, but whatever, it was fine. And then All Hallows Eve, which I hated.
I didn't like All Hallows Eve either.
I thought it was really bad. Then on here I have Dead Alive, which
I love that
the
one.
Peter Jackson horror movie where at one point there's like a mucus slime that goes into a guy's like soup and he starts eating it, and I turned it off because I thought I was gonna throw up.
That's considered a delicacy
Yeah.
by Patrick Wilson and Aquaman 2. All right?
Okay, never mind. I like it. So those ones were like the sadness. Like a lot of people are talking about the sadness right now, but it was
That's
too
okay.
gross for me. I turned
Yeah.
it off. And then I have what I just have written here is anxiety, awe, and that's Uncut Gems and Tar, I shut both of those off. I know they're masterpieces, but I literally had to stop watching them. If I had seen them in a theater or with a group of people, I might have powered through, because I did make it all the way through Dream Scenario, which is pretty uncomfortable and awkward. But those I could not sit through.
Based on reputation, I have not watched Uncut Gems yet, just because I know it's gonna. The only thing that anyone has ever said is like most stressful movie I've ever seen.
It made me feel like my heart was gonna explode.
Yeah,
I will not watch it.
And it's all I've ever heard about it.
Yeah, I can't do that. So that was a no for me.
But I did love Tar.
And I loved Tar, and it was brutal.
Maybe this is where I'll come out on the podcast, since I talked about being a rat femme or whatever.
A trans radical.
Yes. One of my,
I
have two pet rats, two pet fancy rats, and one of them is named Lydia in honor of Lydia Tar from the movie Tar.
Couldn't be me. So I guess, how do we make this, maybe what do we think was the most loathed by everyone?
All together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we all agree?
Y'all was a lot of stuff I didn't know, so.
Yeah, but we all agreed on one that you said, Sam, I think. What were the ones you didn't like?
Oh, Requiem for a Dream?
Well, I feel like we all kind of felt the same, as like there's a lot to appreciate, but it was so unpleasant to watch that like none of us are going to watch it again.
And I don't like, I do think it's pretty reactionary and scare tacticsy.
Yeah.
But I guess we have a bunch of loathe.
But loathe maybe because I think we all unanimously agreed we loathed the way that movie made us feel.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the loathe.
Okay. Gay. Yep. Some of these kind of are.
Some of them.
Hocus Pocus is pretty gay.
For the maximum gay.
Maybe he's our gayest one.
I mean, the disco dance scene in Prom Night is about the campiest thing you're gonna see. So that makes it a bit gay. And I believe the actor playing her love interest was gay in real life. So maybe that was our next gayest. But I would give the concept of being a contrarian two grippy socks out of however many you need for a full grippy sock vacation.
Yeah. Oh. See, I was thinking how many dots are on the grippy socks. 2 out of 20, however many.
I like that too. Maybe that can be your rating.
Tell us your contrarian takes. You can comment below this video on YouTube, where you can just search our podcast name, I guess. You can find us on Instagram.
You can shout it into the void, and maybe we'll hear it.
Yeah, just keep shouting it. I'm sure we will psychically respond to you, person we have a parasocial relationship with. We are just talking to you. And then you can find us on Instagram at Queer and Loathing Pod. You can email us, queerandloathingpod@gmail.com.
Very good.
And then I'm just going to link our letterboxes at some point onto our link tree. So look for that.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. And that's it. Yeah, let us know what you think. And until next time.
I'm Queer.
I'm Loathing.
And I'm Samantha.